Hello everyone. This story is about, what if Naruto had muted emotions and became a seal's master? Please like, share and subscribe for more. Also check the other fics I have uploaded. Now let's start. Hiruzen looked at Naruto intently, as if some hidden secret lied just beneath the boy's emotionless gaze. Truly, he was just happy that his grandson didn't ask him another sex question. He could do without that for a while, though him having sex questions and going to Jiraiya or Kakashi scared him. However, those concerns could wait for another time. Naruto had requested Hiruzen's advice on something the professor was quite experienced in, teaching. As Naruto explained it, this Haku girl wanted to be his assistant as well as a reservist in the Ninja Corp. One condition was Naruto would teach her fuinjutsu. A reasonable request and a skill that would take years to master, unless that is, Naruto was also a genius at teaching fuinjutsu. Hiruzen didn't know if he should hope he was or pray that he wasn't. As Hiruzen gathered his thoughts, he reminisced about his time teaching his team. It was truly one of the best times of his life, even if it ultimately ended in one of his greatest regrets. He shook off the morose thoughts and finally answered Naruto. Well, Naruto-kun, teaching is truly one of the most difficult tasks to undertake, and it is often the case the easier you find a subject the harder it is for you to teach it. Your intuitive grasp on the subject blinds you to the areas other people struggle with. It can take time to find your teaching style, but also learn to be adaptive enough to the learning styles of your students. It shames me to say this, but I initially was not a very good sensei to Jiraiya-kun because of that very dynamic. What do I do? Communicate. Explain things as you understand them, but listen to what Haku has absorbed. It is often the case that what we are teaching and what our chargers learn are not the same, but if you are patient with each other and diligent, I believe you can be an excellent instructor. Just be patient with your student and yourself, and know if you run into difficulties you can come to me or seek advice from Tsunade or Jiraiya, as they both have years of teaching complex, highly technical disciplines. Or Hataki-sensei? Yes, even him, Hiruzen replied with a chuckle. Naruto nodded. Now, how is your other project going? Not well, Naruto said evenly, but Hiruzen could read a level of frustration in his words. It had only been 2 weeks, but even with Tsunade's help, they hadn't been able to find a counteragent to the compound. Keep at it, Naruto-kun. I know you want to help Anko, but don't burn yourself out in the attempt, okay? I'll try, Aji-san. Good, my boy. Now, as you know, you'll be touring the facility that makes your fuin bracelets at the end of the week. The rest of your team will be taking a C rank during that time, but I have a special jounin assigned to escort you. Naruto had requested to see the facility, and Hiruzen figured the boy could update the security while there. He would send Jiraiya, but the man was out collecting intelligence. Besides, Hiruzen had seen the tension between his student and grandson and figured Jiraiya was giving Naruto space. Naruto nodded again and then departed, saying goodbye to his Aji-san as he made his way to Ichiraka Ramen. Hataki-sensei had given him a few days off as he focused on Sasuke and Sakura. Naruto didn't mind, he had plenty of people to train with. One such person was actually sitting at the ramen stand as he arrived. Hello, Haku. Sorry if I'm late. Hi, Naruto-kun, you aren't, I'm just early. As Naruto sat, he saw Ayame approach, with a smile on her face. Welcome, Naruto-kun. What will you have to today? Hello, Ayame-san. Naruto never got to finish as the girl leapt halfway across the stand and grabbed his cheeks, pulling them in opposite directions. I am Nichan, she said, slowly. Hi, I am Nichan. Good, now, what will you have? The usual, Naruto said as he rubbed his cheeks. Haku giggled as it was the most childlike she'd ever seen her friend. It didn't surprise her as Naruto frequented the ramen stand regularly and the young woman before her was also warm and inviting, especially with Naruto. Haku knew there was a story there, but would ask later. She just enjoyed seeing Naruto be treated like a normal 12-year-old from time to time. Tsunade entered her office, her mind abuzz. It had been one of several therapy sessions, and she always needed time to decompress afterward. It was difficult to fight the regret of not having done this sooner, as it didn't take long to uncover it was more than just the deaths of Dan and Nawaki that weighed on the last Senju. While she did still mourn them and feel like a failure, there were layers to her grief. She often felt like a hypocrite, not being able to move on from their deaths when she was one of the most prolific killers in modern shinobi history. How many lovers and siblings did she take from people? How many grieving family members did she send to the bottom of an endless bottle because drunken stupors hurt less than sobriety? How could she be lauded as a medic with so much blood on her hands? She'd existed in a duality, one most medics after her could avoid. She felt alone in many respects, as the fractured parts of herself were in constant conflict. At least, they were before. It was not fast, healing the mind didn't happen instantly, but slowly Tsunade was finding a way to become whole again, to accept all of her, good and bad. She'd already almost overcome her hemophobia, projecting a return to surgery soon. She'd even been seriously training with Shizen again, allowing herself to feel genuine joy and not have it torn asunder by overwhelming guilt. The senju started on her paperwork, thankful her burden wasn't anywhere near her sensei's. She worked methodically, paying attention to the budgeting reports, preliminary plans for the medic training program and the new security clearances. Those had been slow, medics taking a backseat to the frontline Jounin and ANBU, but progress was being made and most of the senior staff had been cleared. Tsunade heard a knock at the door and gave permission to enter. She smiled to see it was Shizen on the other side, with Taunton strutting in at her feet. "I figured you might want some tea before you started your day, Tsunade-sama," Shizen said before placing the mug down on the desk of her longtime teacher. "Thank you, Shizen." Oink. "And you, too, Taunton," Tsunade said with a laugh. "How was your session?" Shizen inquired. "Hard but good. I only wish I'd done this sooner, things could have been different," Tsunade lamented. "Things can be different now, I like to focus on that." "That's very wise, Shizen, how'd that happen?" "I had a good teacher. She showed me what not to do." "Har har har. Keep it up and I might start telling people how you cried when you couldn't revive the fish." "Tsunade-sama, that's not remotely true," Shizen protested and Tsunade simply shrugged. "It doesn't have to be true to be believed." Tsunade expected Shizen to back down, but the dangerous glint in her student's eyes warned that wouldn't be the case. "Do that and I'll tell you've started reading Ika Ika." "You wouldn't." "I would, Tsunade-sama." "Fine, but one day I will get legitimate blackmail material on you." Tsunade threatened, frustrated that throughout their years she'd never caught Shizen doing anything legitimately embarrassing. Shizen laughed it off as she departed from the office. Having the goods on a Sannin was fun. "They don't look like much," Tenten observed, dryly. Ma, Tenten-chan, they're still fresh." "You remember when you were just a few months out from the academy, yes?" Kakashi asked, but didn't expect an answer. He was glad he'd forced Sakura to train with Naruto in the mornings, or this may have truly been a sad sight. Kakashi requested a replacement genin for the upcoming mission, and Guy was kind enough to volunteer his sole kunoichi to the cause. Kakashi appreciated it as she was well-trained, disciplined, and normal, unlike his other two students. "Cha, who the hell are you?" Sakura yelled. Tenten, member of Team 9 and future weapons mistress. "I'm a little offended you don't know, your other teammate offers to bed me, but doesn't talk about me? I feel unappreciated." "Kakashi, why is she here?" Sasuke asked in his usual blunt manner. "We'll be taking another C rank at the end of the week, only without Naruto. Tenten-chan will be replacing him. She'll train with us for a few days so we can all get to know each other." "HN. What does HN mean?" "Look, I've already got one pretty boy prodigy to adapt to, I'm not learning a new language for you." "Use whole words." Tenten said and meant it. She may like Niji, but he could also be trying, and she didn't care enough about the Uchiha to go through that. Sasuke was simply surprised a girl around his age told him off, slightly or otherwise. He decided he didn't like it. "I don't take orders from second-rate kunoichi." Sasuke immediately felt something cool move swiftly across his cheek and then the sting associated with a cut while hearing a thud. He turned to see a kunai lodged into the tree behind him. He turned back around to face Tenten, a scowl forming on his face, and saw she had several more kunai in each hand. "I don't take shit from rookies," Tenten started before a smirk formed on her lips. "Especially not from those who aren't even the strongest on their team." She suspected the Uchiha was a lot like Niji, too much pride to be controlled but just enough to be manipulated. Sasuke accepted the unspoken challenge and charged at the older kunoichi. Kakashi allowed them to hash out their differences but would prevent serious injury to either party should the need arise. Until then, he had a book to read. A minute into the impromptu spar and Sasuke was frustrated. Tenten negated his speed and taijutsu by keeping him at a distance. Every strategy he used to get closer was negated and he was littered with small nicks and cuts. It was as if she'd seen it all before and just knew where to throw those damn kunai. He was losing his patience and considering unleashing some fire jutsu to teach her a lesson. Instead, he conceded. He had, initially, insulted her and she'd proven herself. He hated losing, but there was no point in escalating this further, not when he was wrong. I give, you win. And I'm sorry for insulting you, Sasuke said, and the kunoichi nodded in recognition, neither taunting nor gloating. That was quite the display. It appears we'll have to start training you on how to deal with long-range opponents, Sasuke-kun, Kakashi said, having just joined them. Now, patch yourself up and take a short break. We'll start our team training in 10 minutes. Haku was impressed at the quantities Naruto managed to consume at the small ramen stand, though none of the other parties in attendance found it remarkable in the least, treating it as normal. The duo left the stand, after settling the tab and Naruto making sure to address Iam appropriately lest he wanted his cheeks pinched again. Haku followed Naruto, as he opted to take her to his preferred training ground for her first lesson. The two moved in companionable silence, but something was tempting Haku to tense. She couldn't put her finger on it, but she felt she was being watched, something at the edge of her perception. It didn't have the feel of seasoned shinobi, but years with Zabuza-sama had taught her to trust her feelings. She didn't have to wait long as three slow-moving blurs made their way directly toward them. Naruto made 2 clones in response and snatched all 3 out the air, maneuvering them into piggyback rides. Nichan, a small boy said excitedly. Boss, the other 2 cheered. Haku, this is Kono-chan and these are his friends, Moegi and Udon. You 3, say hello to Haku. Hi, Haku-san, the 3 greeted in unison. Oh, so you're the notorious prankster trio. Naruto-kun has told me about your exploits. All 3 gained a slight blush at her words. You talk about us, Niken? Yes, Naruto said as his clones, and he continued on to the training ground. Why are you 3 not at the academy? We didn't have class today, Konohamaru answered. You know I'll check with Iruka-sensei, yes? Hi. I wouldn't lie to you. Again. Konohamaru said, recalling the one time he was less than honest with Naruto. It wasn't a pleasant experience, and he swore to himself to never do it again. Besides, I never get to see you anymore. I send a clone for you regularly, Kono-chan. It's not the same, the young Sarutobi said in protest. He didn't want a clone, he wanted his big brother. I'll keep that in mind. Yay. So, what are you going to teach us today? Actually, I have plans with Haku, so I can't teach you anything today. Maybe they could join us, since it'd just be the basics. Haku offered after seeing the 3 children start to pout. Naruto said nothing as he considered her alternative. I could, but if I'm going to teach you 3 fuinjutsu, you have to promise me to practice your calligraphy every day and never set off a seal without allowing me to check over it first. Deal. Konohamaru said, answering for the trio. Okay, hold on, was all the warning the kids got as the 3 Narutos performed a shunshin with Haku following close behind. You gotta teach me how to wield those. I ain't gotta do nothing. Please. No. Guys, back me up here. Ino shouted. Team 10 were returning from a C-rank mission. It was a simple mission. Messengers from a private delivery service had been ambushed multiple times along various roadways. Team 10 was supposed to trigger one and gain intel on if someone was selling information or organizing the bandits themselves. Somehow, word got to the party in question as they had far greater numbers for Team 10. While all members had to fight, Asuma dispatched of most of the enemy with his knuckle knives. Ino was instantly enamored and proceeded to request, beg, and plead with Asuma to teach her. He'd been unwilling to do so. Troublesome, I want no part in this, Shikamaru stated. I don't see the harm, Asuma-sensei, Choji replied. See, Choji is on my side. Yeah, don't care. You don't need these, besides it is highly unlikely you have a wind or lightning affinity. So what? Ino shouted. She couldn't understand why it was so difficult to get this man to teach her things. She didn't have any offensive ninjutsu yet or defensive. She was getting better with her taijutsu, but this would certainly give her a leg up. Ino, there is no need to rush. Firm up your basics before you start adding on new things, Asuma answered. He saw the Yamanaka start to retort before she stopped herself. How about a bet? A bet? Yep. If in our next training sessions I can beat both Shikamaru and Choji at the same time, you'll teach me how to use those knives. And what do I get if you lose? What do you want? You have to clean my apartment for a month, laundry included. It's a deal. I have no incentive to participate in this, Shikamaru points out. You only think I'm troublesome, Shika. You want to see what that looks like when I try? Ino asked, threateningly. What a drag. Buy me some barbecue, and I'm good, Choji added. I'm sorry your lesson got interrupted, Haku. It was fine, Naruto-kun. I feel I still learned a lot even with you helping them, besides it's cute how much they look up to you. They do? Naruto asked in mild confusion. I think so, especially Konohamaru. It wouldn't surprise me if he wanted to learn fuinjutsu simply because he knows his big brother is good at it. But shouldn't he want to do things he's good at? Yes, but sometimes when you care about someone and admire them you want to do some of the things they do. I'll never be a kenjutsu user, but my stealth and silent killing skills are due to Zabuza-sama. I wanted to learn the things he excelled at. Oh, was all Naruto could say to that. He could somewhat relate, his Aji-san was his inspiration for wanting to be the Hokage someday, but he just assumed he had to do it his own way. Although the more he thought about it the more he realized his various sensei weren't just teaching him skills, but the skills they trained hard to perfect, the things they felt were important. So, it's like a legacy? Naruto asked. Exactly, and no matter what you do, a small part of you lives on through your students, and their students. Because of you, there may always be people who understand fuinjutsu as a way for chakra to communicate with the world and not just a method of fighting. I think I like that, Naruto said after giving it some thought. Would you teach me something? I can, but why? Because that way, no matter what, I'll always have a part of you and spread your legacy. That's very sweet, Naruto-kun. Naruto looked back at her mildly puzzled, he wasn't trying to be sweet but he shrugged. He'd have to ask his Aji-san about that later. The two continued until they reached their respective apartments, both bidding farewell. Haku would spend the day thinking about what to teach Naruto. Naruto would split his time preparing for the new mission and trying to unravel the last mystery of Anko's cursed seal. Green eyes stared into blue, neither blinking. Inoichi was not at all pleased to see the Uzumaki darken his door. That the boy seemed completely unbothered by Inoichi's stern gaze only added to his annoyance, but what put Inoichi over the top was Naruto's answer to Inoichi's question. I'm here for your daughter, Yamanaka, Inoichi-san. Oh, and would you like to pay a visit to my wife after you finish up? Inoichi questioned, sarcastically. Naruto, however, didn't answer, wondering if Mrs. Yamanaka had a sealing or medical-related need but simply walked past the clan leader. Hinata messaged him saying Ino was in need of assistance so he came over immediately. Seeing he wasn't going to answer, Inoichi spoke again. Ino is in her room, upstairs, and to the left. Thank you, Yamanaka-san, the Uzumaki said before departing to his final destination. When arrived to Ino's room, knocking at the closed door, he was mildly surprised when the door flew open and a near-frantic Ino pulled him into her bedroom and deposited him on her bed. He saw Hinata give a smile, but it wasn't her normal smile so he didn't know if this was amusing or what. I'm glad you're here, Naruto-kun. I'm in need of assistance, and Hinata-chan said you would be able to provide it. I said Naruto-kun might have an idea to help you since your mouth got you in trouble, Ino-chan, the Hyuga corrected. Same diff, Ino replied while shrugging, and then immediately returned to her near-panic state. As Hinata said, you're my only hope. Said declaration caused Hinata to stare at Ino blankly, wondering if the girl had the power to deny reality as she saw fit. Naruto simply sat in silence. Ino, having gotten a little more familiar with Naruto speak, which included a lot of silence and blank stares, concluded he was waiting for her to tell him the actual problem as his presence signaled his willingness to try to help. She learned Naruto didn't state the obvious. Okay, so here's my problem. On our most recent C-rank mission, some things went pear-shaped. We handled it, but during combat, I saw Asuma-sensei using these knuckle knives, and it looked so cool. Of course, I begged him to teach me. I mean, I'm so behind. Even Forehead Girl might be getting ahead of me since she trains with you, right? Sakura-san's rate of progress has been within the range of expectation. See, that's totally Naruto-kun speak for that walking billboard is getting stronger. I just want an edge, an ace that no one suspects, and it would aid in my taijutsu. These are all good points, Ino-chan, but I don't see how I can convince Asuma-san to train you. Oh, no, that's not what I need help with. I challenged Asuma-sensei. I said if I could beat with Shikamaru and Choji at the same time he'd have to train me and he agreed. The problem is, Shikamaru is sick smart, maybe even smarter than Sakura and you. Choji is a sweetheart, but he's a tank. I could wail on him all day, and he wouldn't really feel it. Only Sasuke-kun, Kiba, and you were able to actually hurt him in the academy. Separately they'd be a challenge, but together, I'm totally screwed. I was hoping you'd have some advice, or maybe a super seal to win it for me. So what do you say? Want to whip out that ink and paper for your dear Ino-chan? When is your challenge? Naruto asked. 3 days, Asuma-sensei gave us 2 days off and we settled the bet on our return. So, will you help me? Yes, Naruto started, only to be interrupted. Dash. But I won't give you any seals, the Uzumaki finished. What? Why? Come on, you could totally trap them in something or other, it'd be easy, Ino whined. Possibly, but this is not my challenge, Ino-chan, it is yours. This is a chance for you to improve and I wouldn't be a good friend if I took that away from you. Ino wanted to beg some more but the slight hint of smugness on Hinata's face told her all she needed to know. You knew he'd say no, didn't you? Yes, Hinata answered, not hiding her pleasure, but it doesn't mean we can't help you, Ino-chan. We just won't solve your problem for you. Ino huffed before resigning herself, fine, what can I do? What are the rules of this challenge, Ino-chan? Probably just standard sparring rules, Asuma-sensei didn't stipulate anything before we left. Oh, okay. Then the challenge has already started, Naruto observed, causing Ino to look at him in apparent confusion. No, Naruto-kun, we fight Friday. No, you only have to appear to win on Friday, Ino-chan. That doesn't mean you can't take steps to secure your victory in the meantime, ideally, both Shikamaru and Choji should be doing the same. But it's just a spar. No, Ino-chan, it's an assassination mission with the requirement the client watch you make the kill at a specific time. Wha? Outside of your agreement with Asuma-san and the laws of Konoha, you are free to act without violating the terms of your agreement. It would be irresponsible of you not to seek every advantage, Ino-chan. As my Aji-san says, if a shinobi finds themselves in a fair fight, they've done something wrong. Ino gaped at Naruto's words, wondering if this is how he thought about things, seeing training through the lens of future missions, or the ethics of a shinobi. The statement was brief, but the effects would be profound. Ino felt small and immature, wondering if that was why Asuma-sensei didn't want to train her more. She was too linear, too small in her thinking. She was worried about winning on the day of the spar. It was stupid, the reasoning of an academy student. Of course, he wouldn't want to teach her intermediate skills, she was still pretending to be a ninja. She should have seen the fight as occurring the very moment Asuma-sensei agreed to the bet. And worst yet, she expected her friend to just solve her problem so she could get what she wanted. The Yamanaka heiress hung her head in shame, much to Naruto's confusion. Hinata, however, knew exactly what was happening as she was quite familiar with the looks of shame and self-criticism present in Ino's body language. Ino jumped a little when she felt arms encircle her but quickly eased into the hug. It's okay, Ino-chan. Of our graduating class, Shino-kun is likely the only other one to come to such a conclusion. We're still learning and you've done nothing wrong. I didn't mean to make you feel bad, Ino-chan, Naruto added. He had thought he was helping but was concerned he might have done the opposite. You did, you have. I'm just embarrassed I've been so immature about this. Could you stay a little bit and help me brainstorm a plan? Of course, Ino-chan. The trio would stay in Ino's room and listen to her formulate plans, only offering feedback. This went on for 20 minutes before Naruto's eyes briefly glazed over. That was followed by Inoichi storming into the room, red-faced and breathing heavily. The man looked apoplectic. Get out, you damn brat. Get out right now, the Yamanaka clan had started shouting, only to be cut off by his wife. Inoichi, you leave that sweetheart of a boy alone. Daddy, why are you yelling at Naruto-kun? He's been here the entire time. He was in my bedroom with your mother. The two heiresses turned to look at Naruto, who didn't seem all that concerned about the jounin yelling at him. He assumed his friends wanted an explanation and he didn't mind as he'd only done what Inoichi-san asked on him. As Naruto got to the top of the stairs, he created a shadow clone. If Inoichi-san's wife needed help, it wouldn't do to make her wait. Assuming Inoichi-san's bedroom was at the opposite end of the hallway, Naruto sent the clone that way and continued on to his initial destination. The clone traveled the short distance to the presumed bedroom and knocked. Why yes, was the pained response. Hello, Yamanaka-san, I'm Uzumaki Naruto, and Inoichi-san requested I see about you. Oh, then come in, she responded, and Naruto entered. The room was dark, on the light of a dimmed lamp shone, but Naruto could see the Yamanaka propped up on the bed, looking on in discomfort. Naruto didn't hesitate to follow the protocols instilled in him by Tsunade-sensei and Shizen-senpai. As I stated, I am Uzumaki Naruto, and am currently a C-rank medical ninja. Can you tell me what seems to be bothering you, Yamanaka-san? Emiko, dear. Hi. And what's bothering me is my back. This is all so silly. I was reaching down to pick something up and felt an intense pain in my lower right side. It was agony for the first 2 days, now it is simply mind-numbing. I told Inoichi-kun I just needed a few days rest, not a trained medic. Not even one of Ino's cute friends, saying the last part with a wink. Naruto smiled in response before continuing. How long ago was the initial incident? 3 days ago. Do you ever feel numbness or shooting pain in your legs? Only if I stand too long. I know this will not be comfortable, but do you think you could roll over on your stomach so I can check your back? Emiko, with Naruto's help, removed the covers from her, revealing she was in a floral print nightgown. She winced as she rolled over, but managed to do so. Naruto activated his diagnostic jutsu, and it confirmed his suspicion. You've herniated a disc in your lower back, Emiko-san. Oh, can you do anything? Yes. It is not severe enough to require surgery, and is therefore within my current skill level. One problem is that while bed rest is initially good, after a day or two, it becomes harmful. The muscles in your back have tightened and tense, making you stiff. That will prolong the recovery time. I can help with that too, but I would need you to expose your back to me. And I'll feel better when you're done? Hi. I would only suggest you follow up with another medic tomorrow, as they may undergo further healing or recommend physical therapy. Okay, let's do it. Would you like a towel or a sheet to cover your lower body? And no, that won't be necessary. Naruto said no more as he gently lifted the back of Emiko's nightgown and exposed her lower back and cotton panties. Naruto noticed she had 2 dimples above her butt and thought it an attractive feature. He made a note to apologize to Haku for being skeptical about her aversion of showing her lower back. He also, idly, wondered if Ino-chan would develop similar features as she aged, assuming she hadn't had them already. None of these thoughts lasted long, nor did they delay Naruto from his responsibilities. He started treatment immediately, engaging a healing jutsu, though not the fabled mystic palm technique as he hadn't received the proper rank to learn it yet. However, due to the potency of his chakra and the fuinjutsu-enabled fine chakra control, even basic healing jutsu worked faster for him than most. In only 10 minutes, the disc had been repaired and Naruto started on relaxing her muscles with a therapeutic massage. Naruto started on Emiko's lower back before slowing, sending his hands up the outside of back and gently down either side of her spine. He did this for several minutes until he felt the muscle groupings in her back had warmed up, and then he focused on any sources of tension or knotting he could find, gentle working them loose. He knew he was on the right track as Emiko would offer hums or coos of pleasure. When Naruto ran across a particularly tough knot at her shoulder blades, Emiko encouraged the blonde to be a little more forceful. Yes, right there, Naruto-kun. Don't be shy, were the words Inoichi heard as he entered his bedroom, only to be followed by an ah, as his wife sounded as if something deeply satisfying had occurred. Seeing a small blonde on top of his wife was the final spark to Inoichi's temper. What the hell are you doing to my wife, boy? Paying her a visit, as you requested, Naruto said neutrally, a little confused at Inoichi's surprise. That only further incensed Inoichi, who was about to start yelling at the blonde. Naruto, remembering Shizen-senpai told him that sometimes family members would delay treatment as they became emotional, decided to restrain the confusing clan leader. Inoichi didn't notice the paralysis and suppression seals forming in the room until after they had latched onto him. The part of him that was still objective was impressed the boy could manifest seals with his feet. Every other part of him found the little blonde bastard to be smug and arrogant. Naruto returned to his patient, asking her about her current pain level. There was none. He requested she stand, and she did with no problem. He then repeated his request she seek another medical ninja tomorrow, before dispelling, ending the restriction seals placed on Inoichi. The man wasted no time charging to Ino's room, ready to strangle that Uzumaki. It took Ino and Emiko both to calm Inoichi down, as the respective Yamanaka women believed he was being irrational. This feeling was only solidified by the facts that Inoichi asked Naruto to go to Emiko, and the blonde did help her. He, begrudgingly, apologized for his behavior as he escorted Naruto and Hinata out. Naruto then offered to walk Hinata home and the Hyuga gladly accepted. The pair walked in silence for much of the way to the Hyuga compound until Hinata spoke as they turned on the final street. Naruto-kun? Yes, Hinata-chan? It was nice of you healing Emiko-san, but you shouldn't give your services away for free. Hinata watched as Naruto tilted his head to the side and thought before donning a small smile briefly. In a sense, she did pay me. Oh, and what's your going rate? Hinata asked, the duo approaching the main entrance to her compound. She let me see her panties. Hinata stopped right at her gate, the Hyuga guards holding their greeting. Naruto couldn't place the look on her face initially until it became one of resolve. Well, that might be a problem should I ever need your medical skills. Oh, why so? Naruto asked. Hinata, without hesitation, leaned close and whispered in Naruto's ear, because I don't wear any. She swiftly turned on her heels and entered her home. Uzumaki-san, are you okay? One of the guards asked as the boy merely stood before them with a half-lidded gaze. Databeo, was his only response before he disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Grunts of exertion could be heard as Haku attempted to see to her duties. Just as she was diligent in being Zabuza-sama's tool, she'd be the very best assistant she could for Naruto-kun. It was why she was here, dressed in a dark blue kimono, with a mesh shirt underneath, open-toed heels similar to Tsunade's and her new headband holding back her onyx locks. You, personally, have a light day today, Naruto-kun. After training with Sakura-san, you have a couple of hours free before your first meeting. Ugh. Haku heard as a shadow clone kneed Sakura in the stomach. The construction crew? Naruto continued, seemingly unbothered by his teammates' grunt of pain. Hi, the construction crew. As a reminder, this is them pitching you so they will do most of the talking, but I did leave a note card with a few questions you may want to ask them on your desk. Speaking of, have you considered renting office space? Working out of your apartment may become untenable, given what all you do. I plan to have one built during the building remodel, along with a ceiling chamber. Makes sense. The meeting shouldn't last more than an hour. After that, Shizun-san has requested you make a personal appearance to the hospital in addition to the clones you normally send, not in replacement of, I made sure to ask. Did she give any specifics? No, but she said it shouldn't interfere with your availability for anything else today. Okay, what else? You have that last meeting scheduled at 1, but there is still time to cancel. Haku attempted to caution but was, uncharacteristically, interrupted. He has been given a chance to be straight with me, Haku. I understand, Naruto-kun, but I still think this might be going too far. No one is getting hurt by what I'm doing, he can't make the same claim. To your knowledge, but you don't know that, on either claim. True, but I will continue on. Haku sighed, but proceeded, after that, the rest of your day is cleared for training. I will start your Senbon training at 2, Sai-san will be free at 4 o'clock. Anything else? Your clones are scheduled to dispel, some at 3, some at 6, and the last at 9. Okay. Will you be free for dinner tonight? Chappie and I will arrive at 8, Haku said with a smile. Arg, damn it, Naruto. Sakura yelled, getting up off the ground and marching over to her teammate. The shadow clone dispelled and Naruto got the memories of her performance. What's the problem, Sakura-san? The problem is I'm here to train with you, not some freaking clone. Also, what's your problem with me? Why was that thing being so hard on me today? You kept leaving the same hole in your stance. I pointed it out before, but you've yet to correct it, so I thought maybe a direct consequence could help. Better I do than an enemy. Besides, since I will not be on your upcoming mission, this is the best I can do to protect you, Sakura-san. At first, irritated by his words, Sakura quickly calmed down. He wasn't wrong, and it was sweet he was doing it to help her improve. Still hurt, though. Can you do something about the pain? Sure, come eat dash. I believe that would be a mistake, Naruto-kun, Haku spoke, causing both Naruto and Sakura to look at her, one neutrally, one in annoyance. For your lesson to truly stick, she must live with the consequence. If you remove the pain, you remove the lesson. Sakura gained a tick mark, but Naruto tilted his head to the side, considering her words. Haku's point seemed sound and Naruto didn't want Sakura-san to backslide because he was misguided in his kindness. With a firm nod, Naruto spoke. I agree with Haku, Sakura-san. I know my clone held back, so while it may hurt you aren't injured and can continue with your duties. What? Naruto, just come heal me. Sakura-san, I suggest you lower your voice and never raise it to Naruto-kun in my presence again, Haku said with a warm smile, but Sakura saw a threatening glint in her eyes. A part of her wanted to acquiesce, another wanted to reject it and challenge the older girl to do something about it. Before she could, however, the trio were interrupted by a fast-moving dust cloud and a pair of booming shouts. Yo, filled the surrounding area as two green blurs and the resulting dust stopped right in front of Naruto and Haku. Yash, most youthful Naruto-kun, good morning. And to you as well. Guy said, greeting the younger ninja. Good morning, Guy-sensei. Morning, Mato-san. Sakura was still quiet, dumbfounded by the scene, and Lee noticed her silence. Hello. You must be the lovely Sakura-chan. I am Rock Lee, Konoha's beautiful green wild beast, Lee announced. Would you like to go out with me? I'll protect you with my life. This is way too much, way too early. I'm sorry Lee-san, I'm interested in someone else. Lee looked down for a bit before his eyes started burning with determination. Naruto-kun has clearly taken the lead for your heart, and while that may never change, I look forward to showing you my worth, Yash. And no, it's not Naruto. Sakura screamed, shaking in rage. Guy decided to move on before the pinkette dissolved. Naruto-kun, I understand you are not training with my rival this week, as Tenten-chan has temporarily replaced you. How would you like to join us for the day? Guy asked, while in his nice guy pose. I, unfortunately, have plans throughout the day, but I am free now. Did you hear that, Lee-kun? We will elevate your flames of youth, and Naruto-kun's as well. Let's start with a spirited run to our training grounds, and move on from there. I can barely contain my excitement, Guy-sensei. I am exploding with youthful power. What about you, Naruto-kun? Lee asked, adopting his own nice guy pose. I don't feel combustion is imminent, no. Lee dipped his head briefly before raising it again with a blinding smile. This must be the hip attitude you often mention, Guy-sensei. If I had not already selected one, I would accept you as my lifetime rival. Naruto-kun for coolness cannot defeat the flames of youth. Well said, Lee-kun. Let us run like the wind, Yash. Guy took off, Lee close behind, and Naruto swiftly followed suit, catching up to the taijutsu users. The two kunoichi watched the three leave, Haku smiling at the odd exchange and Sakura still confused, until she remembered Haku's last words. Haku-san, do you have a problem with me? Sakura inquired. Yes, she answered swiftly. Naruto-kun was only trying to help you, and instead of being appreciative of his efforts you berate him as if he'd wronged you. He may not take personal offense, but I do on his behalf. Find a different outlet to vent your frustrations than targeting someone you know won't fight back. I don't do that. Yes, you do. You even did so in Nami, but that stops now. How is any of this your business? He's my teammate, and if he has a problem he can say so. I'm his assistant and, more importantly, his friend. So, I will repeat, find a better outlet for your frustrations. Yeah, what if I take them out on you? Sakura said in annoyance only to hear a delicate laugh. You fight like a pillow-fisted gorilla, Sakura-san. You're years away from being a threat to me, Haku said and then vacated the training ground by a shunshin. Sakura only gaped at the final remarks of the older girl. Soon a fit of burning anger took hold and Sakura abused the nearing training post in response. She'd stay there until time to meet her team. Anara stared intently at a Yamanaka. Yoshino was sure she'd misheard Ino's request. It was quite early, and she may not have been fully alert. She was also surprised that Ino had even come here at this hour. That would explain it, her mind simply hadn't processed Ino's words correctly. There was no way Emiko's little girl was asking her to drug her own child. No way. Ino-chan, I'm not sure I'm understanding you, Yoshino said and heard the heiress huff. Ino had come by early, as Shikamaru hadn't even awoken yet, to speak to Yoshino. While unusual, it wasn't odd as their families had been close for generations, and Yoshino was something of an aunt to Ino. I want you to put this, she waved a vial of clear liquid, in Shikamaru's drink tomorrow night. It's a stimulant, like really potent caffeine, but that's it. And this is a training assignment? Yes, Yoshino Abakan. I have to be honest, we're the weakest team of our graduating class. I'm trying to push Asuma-sensei to train us harder, but I have to complete the exercise for that to happen. Which is to beat Choji and Shikamaru in a spar at the same time. Yes, ma'am. But as I am, I can't do that straight up. So, you'll cheat? Yoshino questioned. Technically, no. This isn't against the rules we stipulated. I'm just taking every advantage to make sure my mission is a success, Ino explained and watched the Nara matriarch nod along. Yoshino considered Ino's argument. While not overly concerned with them being the strongest team, she certainly wanted them to be a strong and solid team. Asuma being more rigorous couldn't hurt, and it would break Shikamaru out of this belief. He only needed to really concentrate on his intellect. The mother in her balked at drugging her own child, but he wasn't a child anymore. If Ino were getting this serious about her career, Yoshino saw no reason to impede her development. I'll do it if you give me a full description of what the substance is and how you got it, Yoshino stipulated, and Ino nodded. She'd spent much of the night distilling the substance after her brainstorming session with Hinata-chan and Naruto-kun. She even had notes and documentation to provide in case Yoshino had asked for it. Ino smiled. Yoshino was going to be the harder sell of the two mothers she had to speak to. She was starting to believe she just might pull this off. Guy watched Naruto exit the training ground as Lee shouted his goodbyes. It was a good session. He'd had both boys drop their weights/resistance seals respectively and come at him. It was quite invigorating, and he was enthused to see how Naruto was improving the base taijutsu style Guy had helped him with. However, Guy couldn't shake his sense of guilt. He'd known from his rival that Naruto was developing into a capable taijutsu practitioner and the current best of Team 7. Guy hatched a plan to get Naruto to train with Lee and to put the young Uzumaki in a position not to hold back. Lee was a humble boy, but his tunnel vision regarding Neji was bringing about an unintentional arrogance as he solely compared himself to his chosen rival, blinding himself to the other challenges around. It worked. Lee saw that there was someone his age that could compete with his speed and strength. He hated using the blonde in such a way, but hoped the experiencing of fighting an elite jounin was, at least, close to a fair exchange for his time. While Guy was attempting to alleviate his guilt, Naruto was headed back to his apartment. He needed to shower before his meetings and wanted to send a few clones to the archives. He rather liked the unusual pair of beasts and wondered if Sai wouldn't mind having Lee join them from time to time. He wasn't surprised Lee was so fast, as he had no basis to gauge the boy's abilities, but knowing there was someone comparable to him did give him a little motivation to increase the intensity of his workouts. He really liked that he got an example of many of the basic strikes and stances of the Gukken style. He'd improved his memory recall seal, so projecting the fight and incorporating elements of the style wouldn't be too difficult even if it was more rigid than his nascent style was. Before he cleared Team 9's training grounds, he crossed paths with Neji, who looked especially irritated when he spoke. "What are you doing here, Uzumaki?" Naruto simply looked Neji in his eyes for several moments before giving his answer, leaving. He then continued to walk away, wondering how the alleged prodigy couldn't pick up on something so obvious. Neji took the answer as a dismissal, and it only agitated him further. "You would do well to speak properly to your betters," the Hyuga spat. Naruto turned to him, considering his words. He did have a point, as Aji-san had stressed the value of politeness, which is something he then taught to Kono-chan. However, the phrasing of betters left him perplexed, as Naruto hadn't known of some objective ranking system, but he felt he should, at least, acknowledge Niji's attempt at good advice. "If I find some, I will," and continued on his way. The second, to Neji, dismissal only soured his mood further, and the shouts from his sensei and teammate hadn't helped. He swore he'd teach the blonde a lesson one day, if for no other reason than to tear down the source of Hinata's support. Fate demanded as much. Naruto, paying the bitter Hyuga no further attention, swiftly made his way back to his apartment. He had about an hour and a half to shower, change and eat before he'd hear the first bid for his redevelopment project. While, theoretically, Naruto could simply task clones to do the work once they learned how it would not do good for his company to have no employees or contractors on the books. The blonde Uzumaki was excited about the redevelopment. While much of the apartments wouldn't change, Naruto wouldn't incorporate some amenities to attract more renters. He wanted a small grocery store at the ground level and a laundry service as well. He was going to establish a small private training area behind his building and a secure hot spring. There were some other ideas, but he mostly wanted the ability to expand or add as he chose, so the construction would be additional structures to the existing apartment complex. The novelty being, while all apartments would be entered from the outside, there would be a fuinjutsu-enabled passage to the resident-only amenities to keep them secure and exclusive. Another addition to the building, that only a few people would know about, was the sub-basements Naruto planned to create with Doton Jutsu and Fuinjutsu. He'd had this idea that, if it worked, would take his training to the next level, but he wanted to keep it a secret. As his Ajisen stated, not every development had to be shared with the village. This would be for him and, what Haku called, his precious people. The Uzumaki had busied himself with so many projects, Enko Seal, learning medicine, battle Fuinjutsu, and other areas of training that he'd stalled on his initial focus, the information systems. His short-range communication seal worked, but he wanted something better, that could handle audio, video, and text. Attempts hadn't been to his liking, as the images would just be blurs. How to transmit the information was the problem, and one of his clones had the thought that the data of the desired transmission needed to be broken down into smaller packets, and then reconstituted in almost an instant once received. Given Naruto had spent much more time with his mother's barrier information, creating the theoretical framework hadn't been hard, though coming up with a new coding language was onerous. The last hurdle was the method of transmission, which would require a space/time technique. To realize his goal, Naruto knew he had to finally begin to learn his father's signature jutsu, the HAREM. He also had to then surpass even his father's mastery, as the HAREM was a fuinjutsu-assisted ninjutsu and Naruto needed an entirely fuinjutsu instant transmission method. The Uzumaki hummed as he exited the shower. He had a lot to do. Even with his clones, it often felt like he was nearing his limit with how much he could multitask. He'd finished his preparation for his upcoming mission, but he still needed to make some things for his teammates. Just because he wasn't going to be there didn't mean he couldn't be helpful, and as his replacement, Tenten-san, was alleged to be really good at shuriken jutsu, he knew just the items to give her. He completed his hygiene rituals, dried off and changed, a black v-neck, long-sleeve shirt over a mesh shirt, black pants, and sandals to match. Not his usual shinobi wear, but since it was for business, Hataki-sensei and his Ajisen both recommended a change in wardrobe. He sat down at his table, a clone having prepared omuris with miso soup. The Uzumaki ate quietly, enjoying the small moment of inactivity. Kurenai overlooked her team with a small smile on her face. The team had just completed one of their recurrent training exercises, hide and seek. 2 members would search for one party, but the stipulation was, none of the genin could use the abilities their clans were infamous for. Kurenai had to put a special salve under Kiba's nose to achieve this, as the boy couldn't simply turn his scent smell off. They'd struggled initially, as she assumed, but they'd grown over the months in and out of the exercise. Kiba had to learn to be more observant and thoughtful, qualities that were slowly bleeding into other facets of the Inuzuka's life. He'd still charge ahead, that'd likely always be his style, but he was getting smarter about it. Shino was learning to treat the environment and people around him as things to engage and interact with, not merely objects of observation and assessment. He was, in turn, talking more with his teammates about non-shinobi matters, and his teammates were all too happy to talk in return. Hinata, too, initially faltered, but she was learning to rely on more than just her eyes, and getting more and more confident. Kurenai couldn't be more proud of her team. While not the combat focus like Team 7, they had enough power to not fall victim like other tracker-focused teams, while also learning to be multidimensional in their ninja abilities. She was even ready to start them on some genjutsu studies, outside of how to detect and break them, which she drilled into their heads early on. None of them may specialize, but they'd all know how to do something in the illusion arts. Kurenai's focus was disturbed by the presence of a hawk circling the team, meaning they were being summoned to the Hokage Tower. She wasted no time getting the genin's attention and leading them to the tower. If they were being summoned, it was likely a time-sensitive C rank. There was always a hint of concern when she took them out of the village, but she chalked that up to just the natural concern a teacher would have for her students, as she was also confident they could handle themselves. They were solid individually and even better as a team. The mission was a search and rescue, if alive, or confirmation of death if not. It would take them 2 days to reach the mountainous region they were traveling to, so Kurenai gave her team an hour to pack and report to the main gate. Teammates separated as they exited the Hokage Tower, each attending to their own mission prep. Kurenai chose to go with the standard jounin uniform, taking into consideration the weather conditions of the mountains. She resolved herself to barter with Uzumaki-kun to get some of his temperature control seals. Hinata already had them in her mission wear, and it had been a mental lapse to not procure some as well. She may make it a team by as Shino and Kiba could both benefit, but she'd have to consider what would be a fair trade for his services. Maybe some genjutsu lessons, and even a jutsu, she wondered as she finished packing. After having a light lunch and rechecking her gear, Kurenai left out, arriving just as the rest of her team did. She smiled briefly as they were neither too early nor late. She spared them some brief words about their expected travel duration, and after officially checking out, teammate departed. Movement, she realized, was going to be her key to success. Any traps she erected needed to keep her teammates moving, off balance and guessing. Shikamaru likely couldn't use his shadow possession while moving, and his stamina wasn't the best either. He also didn't strategize the best when on the back foot, situations not in his control. Choji was different, he was all motion. The tank that could barrel through opposition when needed, but she'd use that against him, and without Shikamaru guiding him, the boy would lose confidence. Ino realized she'd have to work with Choji on that. He shouldn't use Shikamaru as a crutch, but it'd have to wait. The Yamanaka heiress was planning out her battle, that is why she was currently in her team's training grounds. She wanted to get a real feel for the area, looking at it through new eyes. She wouldn't put up any of the traps until tomorrow night, just in case, but it was good to have a working schematic now. After getting Choji's mom to agree, Ino didn't feel as confident as when she left Yoshino. It was starting to feel real now. She had a brief moment of doubt as she wondered if she really could do this on her own, outside of the help she'd be receiving from her surrogate aunts. Ino immediately shook away those dark thoughts. She knew how many saw her, the vapid, fangirl heiress, the girl that would rather gossip than train. While some of those things were true, she was a sincere admirer of Sasuke, she wasn't some dimwit. She's been the one requesting more training, pushing her limits. She's the one trying to diversify her skill set. She had to win. This single victory wouldn't change people's perceptions of her, but she could start with Asuma sensei. She could prove she wasn't just playing ninja, she was serious. From there she didn't know, but she had people to help figure it out. The Yamanaka simply knew she'd only accept the best from herself and push her teammates to do so as well. Two blondes sat in the observation deck of a surgical suite overlooking a team perform. From above it looked so orderly, a choreographed dance that belied the split-second decision-making and potential consequences should one misstep. Tsunade wasn't concerned, though. She'd trained Shizen well and had absolute faith in her longtime apprentice. Her visible discomfort was only due to the remaining vestiges of her phobia. Watching surgeries were to be an immersion therapy, a way to safely confront the symbol of her deeper issues. Tsunade hadn't told Naruto she had hemophobia, and he never inquired as to why she wasn't performing surgeries. He was, however, a very observant boy, and while he may not understand a lot, he does know the signs of discomfort and the periodic flinching of Tsunade's shoulders. Recalling some advice he read in a book once, Naruto simply reached out and held her hand. He missed the small smile she donned at his gesture, his focus having returned to the surgery. Being a combat medic is like fighting a war on all fronts. Time is against you, your conditions aren't sterile, and you often have enemies to worry about. Do you have enough supplies? Are you rested enough? Focused enough? Is there enough light to see? What if you have multiple patients? Who gets how much time? The development and refinement of medical ninjutsu has helped. The fewer surgeries we have to actually cut people open the better, but even medical ninjutsu has stagnated in recent years. Why? Honestly? And this is going to sound arrogant as hell, but it's because I stopped creating them. Medics know more but treatments and jutsu? Not much. What if I hadn't left and had died? Who would have continued to push the field forward? This is why I'm glad Sensei called me back. He was right, Naruto. With us working together, I think we can make another leap in the medical field and maybe inspire some other people to get off their asses and stop hiding in my shadow. Tsunade said and saw Naruto nod in acknowledgement. Your security measures will go into full effect soon. We don't have many genin on staff, so their background checks will be completed soon, and I've been impressed with your pharmacology studies. Now, I want you to move toward actual treatment seals. After you get back from your next mission, I want to start your surgical rotation in earnest, which means you'll need to be here in person until I say otherwise. Your clones can do rounds with our diagnosticians, though you are to no longer have them henge into other people. The transforming of the clones was initially agreed upon to not draw attention to Tsunade taking on a new student. It just looked like she was testing out a pilot program. It was also an attempt, on Hiruzen's part as it was his suggestion, to insulate Naruto from biased staff or even patients. Tsunade was of the opinion that people either dealt with him being there or they could get the hell out, but ultimately deferred to her sensei's wish. But if he were going to be seeing more and more patients, there had to be a level of trust, so the deception had to end. Okay, was Naruto's response. Henge, no henge, it didn't really matter to him. Good. Now, as I was saying, unsterile environments and live combat zones are one of the more enduring issues. Do you think you could develop some type of medical room barrier? Tsunade asked and watched as Naruto stroked his chin lightly. Barriers, be they ninjutsu or fuinjutsu, required a good deal of chakra. The more you required the barrier to do, the more chakra it took to maintain it. That was simply just the reality of art. One that could offer protection. Cloaking as well as some kind of filter to purify the area and keep it that way would be costly. But possible, the Uzumaki thought. Hey, before you go too far down that rabbit hole, I want to stop you, Tsunade said and laughed as Naruto developed a small pout. Another idea I want you to consider is some kind of stasis, as operating in the field is not always possible. I've attempted to create a jutsu to accomplish this, but haven't been successful. I couldn't localize the effects. Those are the next two projects I want you to tackle, and I'll get you whatever resources you need. Any questions? How long do I have? There's no timetable, but the sooner the better, of course. Any more questions? No. Alright, one last thing, did you treat Emiko Yamanaka last night? And did you restrain Inoichi while doing so? Yes to both, Naruto answered and watched Tsunade laugh again. You have a nice laugh, sensei, Naruto said, and she did. It wasn't like Hinata's giggle, but there was a melodious quality to it. Tsunade waved off the compliment, she knew he meant it and there wasn't anything more to it. Well, you did the right thing. Never let anything prevent you from offering the care needed once you accept someone as a patient. Though you didn't win any points with Inoichi, so I'd watch that. I did as he asked, so I don't understand his hostility, Naruto said, tilting his head. He found Ino-chan's dad to be confusing. Tsunade sighed, not wanting to be the one to have this conversation, but, clearly, sensei hadn't done so. Naruto, Inoichi doesn't really dislike you for anything you've done. It's because you're a boy who has the attention of his daughter. He thinks you want to have sex with her and that it's his job to protect her virtue. I do want to have sex with her, I told her as much. I don't see how that's his concern. Tsunade looked mildly surprised at the boy's bold admission, but recovered well. Why that is his concern is a very long, complicated, and frankly sexist discussion, and you should ask sensei if you want to know. What's important here is that Inoichi doesn't dislike Naruto Uzumaki, he dislikes Ino's male friend, she offered, and Naruto tilted his head in the other direction. In another situation, Tsunade might find it adorable. So, any boy who may show such interest in Ino-chan may receive a similar reaction? Yes, and you admitting you want to have sex with her didn't help matters. I didn't know you shouldn't do that, not until Hinata-chan told me. I don't do it anymore. Well, that's progress, I guess. But you shouldn't be friends with girls just in hopes of having sex with them, Tsunade admonished, realizing being a sensei to a boy was going to be hard. I'm not, the two are unrelated. I didn't know Ino-chan and I were friends until after I offered to have sex with her. I'll still be her friend even if she doesn't. Same with Hinata-chan. I wouldn't stop learning from you and Shizen-senpai just because neither of you wanted to have sex with me. That'd be weird, Naruto replied as if he were stating the obvious. Tsunade amended her last thought, it wasn't going to be hard, but incredibly hard. I don't know what to say in response to that, so you can leave. Take Taunton with you, she needs some exercise, Tsunade said, really needing a drink right now. She also decided she needed to limit Naruto's exposure to Jiraiya as the world didn't need another gallant pervert. Jiraiya was settling in for the night. He'd just met with an important contact, but one that didn't have a lot of usable information. That was maddening, but it was the question this contact had, questions concerning Naruto that put the Toad Sage on edge and wondering if he should cut his losses. He'd need to speak to Sensei about it once he returned. He also needed to talk to his godson. He'd drug his feet on Anko's cursed seal, and he knew Naruto was losing patience with his lack of help. He should just explain his reasons, and hoped the boy would listen. The kid seemed rational, but the thing about adolescence is that their irrationality flares up at the worst times, even among prodigies. But to delay any further was risking his relationship, and he couldn't allow that, not at all. The large man sighed as he kicked off his geta and got into bed. He was mildly surprised to see a messenger toad appear with a missive from Naruto. The Gaki hadn't contacted him in such a way before, but he was glad Naruto was getting familiar with all the toads. He unfurled the scroll and read the contents quickly before unsealing some documents contained in a storage seal at the bottom. He looked at the messenger toad. Then back to the scroll. Then the toad again, before exclaiming, "What the fuck is this?" Jiraiya's surprise was understandable, given the message contained therein. He couldn't believe what his godson had done. He was going to wring that brat's neck and yell at Sensei for allowing him to grow up like that. Jiraiya read the scroll one last time to make sure he wasn't losing his mind. Jiraiya. My calls for assistance have gone unheeded and I have yet to be given a reason as to why. In an effort to obtain your acquiescence, I have bought your publishing house. Within the storage seal at the bottom are the copies of the sales agreement and other official documents. Until you render the aid, I need to help Mitarashi Anko-chan or explain, fully, why you have not no new copies of existing Ika books will be printed and all future editions will be shelved. If you try to break your contract, which I now own, I will sue in the courts of Fire Country. I await your response. Uzumaki Naruto. This was all for now. Hope you liked it. Please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more great stories. See ya.